How much 401 savings do you need to retire comfortably at each age? These are the exact 401 numbers you need to retire comfortably at each age. The staggering gap between what experts say you should have and what the average American actually has. At the end of the video, you'll know exactly where you're standing, what math really says, and what to do if you're behind, as most people do. Let's start with the numbers we're after. According to Northwestern Mutual S 2024 Planning and Progress Study, Americans now say they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably. The figure was up about 15% from the previous year, and about 53% from $951,000 in 2020. Northwestern Mutual itself said the new magic numbers reflect a convergence of factors, from persistent inflation, longer life expectancy, to uncertainty about the future. More important, CBS News noted that $1.46 million savings would generate about $4,800 a month in retirement income. That is it. That is how $1.46 million was actually bought tongue-tine. Now, is $1.46 million the right target for you? Maybe, maybe not, because the industry's most respected benchmark is not a fixed dollar number. It is a multiple of your income. That is what loyalty means. Fidelity has been publishing age-based savings milestones for years, based on real assumptions, an annual savings rate of 15%, including your employer matching, retirement at 67, and a goal of replacing at least 45% of pre-retirement income, with the remainder of Social Security coverage. Here is what they say you should have. By age 30, that is twice your annual income. By age 40, 3 times. 50 years old, 6 times. 60 years old, 8 times. 67, 10 times your annual income. So if you make $80,000 a year, Fidelity means you should save $480,000 between $50,660 and $800,000 by retirement age. If you want to retire earlier, say at 62, Fidelity says you need to be close to 12 times your income. Work until you are 70 and you can spend less. Now it feels uncomfortable. Let's compare those goals to what people actually have. According to Fidelity's data for the fourth quarter of 2024, the average 401 balance by age, extracted from 26,700 corporate retirement plans and 24.5 million participants, is as follows. Ages 40 to 44, with an average income of $109,100. Ages 45 to 49, $152,100. 50 to 54 million, $199,900. Ages 55 to 59, $244,900. Ages 60 to 64, $246,500. 65 to 69 million, $251,400. Look at the numbers. If you are 60 to 64 and make $80,000 a year, Fidelity says you should save $640,000. The average American in this age group is $246,500. That is about a third of the target. That is the average. That is what we need to talk about. Because averages are lies, they were unblocked by a handful of very large accounts. The number you really want to see is the median, the middleman. Vanguard released the data in its How America Saves 2025 report, covering about 5 million participants. This is a brutal version. Vanguard's overall average 401 balance in 2024 was $148,153. The median was $38,176. The gap tells you everything. Most workers earn well below average. Broken down by age, Vanguard's median balance is shown below. Ages 35 to 44, with a median of $39,958. Ages 45 to 54, $67,796. The median age of 55 to 64 is $95,642. For people 65 and older, the median is actually slightly lower, at $95,425. Let it all take root. Typical Americans retire with a 401 pension of about $95,000, not $1.46 million, not 10 times their wages. $95,000. That is why the retirement crisis hasn't come. It has. So how do you turn savings into retirement income? That is where the 4% rule comes from. It was proposed by William Bengen, a financial advisor, in 1994, and published in the Journal of Financial Planning. Idea: you put out a 4% portfolio in the first year, and then adjust upward each year for inflation. And historically, your money will last at least 30 years. Practical math: at a 4% withdrawal rate, you need to save about 25 times your annual expenses. Want $60,000 a year in retirement income from your portfolio. You need $1.5 million. Want $40,000. You need $1 million. One thing most people don't know: Mr. Bengen himself has updated his views. In a CNBC interview published on the 3rd of September, 2025, and in his 2024 book, Bengen effectively increased the safe initial withdrawal rate for a typical 30-year retirement to about 4.7%. Fidelity's official guidance now recommends withdrawing 4 to 5% of initial savings, and then adjusting for inflation. Mr. Bengen has a warning. He calls inflation retirees the biggest enemy. But before you panic about the $1 million figure, remember, your 401 is not all Social Security. According to the Social Security Bureau, the average monthly Social Security retirement benefit in January 2026 is expected to be $2,071. That is about $25,000 a year. Here is a powerful detail. Every year you delay applying past the full retirement age, until you turn 70, your monthly benefits increase by 8%. This is one of the highest guaranteed yields in the world, after adjusting for inflation. Now, if you're listening to the show and you're behind, statistically, most people who watch it are behind. Here is what you can actually do under the IRS rules, in effect. For 2026, the Internal Revenue Service announced in Announcement 2025-67, issued on the 13th of November 2025, that it would increase the employee $401 contribution limit to $24,500. If you are 50 or older, you can add another $8,000. That is an issue that few people talk about. Thanks to Secure 2.0, if you are 60, 61, 62, or 63, you'll get an ultra-high catch of $11,250, combined with the term limit. This means that people in this age group can deposit $35,750 into their 401 account in 2026. It is a huge catch-up window that most people don't even know exists. Older workers pay more attention to saving, the data show. The Pioneer Report shows that employee delay rates rise with age. Employees 55 to 64 contribute an average of 9.3% of wages. Employees 65 and older contribute 10.1%, and employees under 25 contribute only 5.5%. So let's take this home. If you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, that is the reality. Depending on your age, Fidelity says you should save 3 to 8 times your income. Americans of these ages have an average 401 account size of about $109,000 to $246,000. The median is much lower, close to $40,000 to $95,000. Americans say they believe 1.46 million people are needed to retire comfortably, compared with less than a tenth of the average worker nearing retirement. The gap is real, but so does the math that solves the problem. A 15% savings rate, including matching with employers, is the foundation of Fidelity's entire model. Catch-up contributions exist specifically for people in your situation. Delaying Social Security increases benefits by 8% a year. 4% rule. If you believe in Bengen updates, it gives you a real, testable framework for turning savings into income. Mike Shamrell, Fidelity's Vice President for Thought Leadership, put it simply, saving for retirement is a marathon, not a sprint. Even if you're behind, the worst thing you can do is freeze. The best thing you can do is count honestly. Put down as much as you can and stop comparing yourself to the average. Because the average masks how far most people really lag behind. Now you know where the benchmarks come from, what the real data is, and what math actually needs. The question is not whether you can reach 1.46 million. The question is what your numbers are, and whether you're saving, as you say,